All right, welcome to another episode of the Middle Aged Metalhead. Today we have regular contributor Abhishek Sen with us, who you all should know by now, and a very special guest, Jayaprakash Satymurthy, bass player for the band Djinn and Miskatonic, author, poet, and also holds the world record for lifting a 100-kilo stone with the strength of his teeth, which I will let him tell you more about. And yeah, how are you doing, gentlemen?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, what is the story about lifting the stone with your teeth, JP?
I don't know. I don't remember this.
Is this like I feel like that episode of The Office where Michael Scott says, I love inside jokes. I would love to be in one of them one day.
I would love to be on the
Uh,
inside of this one too.
yeah,
It's the first time
that
hearing of it.
yeah. I was just made up. JP does not hold that record.
No,
But the rest of it
unfortunately.
is true. He is the bass player for James Tonic. He's also a published author and poet. And he's been with us before to talk about jazz. But on today's show, the topic is our favorite albums from 2005. So before we get to our albums itself, we'll talk about three albums and an honorable mention each. What were you guys up to in 2005?
Well, I
20 years
was
ago.
I was working. I wasn't yet married. I was drinking too much. Yeah, and I wasn't in a band at the time. I was in that dry period between the last of my college era bands expiring and getting back into music in 2011-12. So yeah, uh, lots of beer, and lots of just sort of observing the world and listening to music and reading books.
So nothing much has changed.
Not that much, yeah. I don't drink that much beer anymore.
Yeah, 2005, I was just getting into, uh, you know, the hang of college, you know. So, I mean, just getting into graduation and stuff like that. Yeah, the musical tastes by then were steeply more, um, I don't want to use the word violent, but it was mostly extreme, with the exception of a few scene bands, here and there, as you will get to know, because one
Hmm.
band I've specifically picked, which essentially you couldn't escape from, you know, and that's a band for various memories attached, is still something which I, um, quite look back on quite fondly. I don't enjoy that band as much now, but the memories are what keep that band very special for me. What were you up to, Jeevan?
I just uh, moved to Bombay, so I was getting used to a new city, local trains, fucking mad pace of that city. But musically, getting into a lot of sludge and stoner. I think that was when that whole sludge stoner music thing really exploded. But yeah, man, 20 years ago feels like a really long time when you think about it. But
Yeah.
also at times feels like not so long. Like a lot of those memories are still quite recent, especially sitting on the local train at last local train at 1 a.m. listening to this Godless endeavor on my Discman. But yeah, which we will talk more of later on this episode. But yeah, overall decent times, I guess. Uh,
Yeah, because that old adage of time moves really quickly as you get older. So I think this is still what it is. I mean, 2005, I can still taste all of that,
Hmm.
stuff as I was discovering more, getting more into forums and discovering more of the extreme stuff. Like I remember at this point, 2005, 2006, that is when my initiation and more into the black metal stuff and the death metal
Hmm.
stuff, which I kind of enjoy. I was also listening to a lot of contemporary stuff like your metalcore, etc., which explains why I have such a strong opinion about it, because I kind of don't like most of that. Um, but yeah, it was mostly, it was a very interesting time, especially if you look at it even from a cultural perspective. I think a lot of it, especially if you look at movies and stuff like that, the pop culture. I think the the flaws which happened, especially in the Western media after 9/11, and the way films, movies started depicting themselves, that entire culture started to change. I think that was reflective of the movies of its time as well. But I also remember 2005 was huge for me for Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter.
It was very much in the midst of peak Harry Potter mania.
Yeah.
The books hadn't finished coming out, and the movies were everywhere. And J.K. Rowling hadn't yet locked herself up in a castle with black mold and gone insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a huge aspect.
Yeah, 2007, I remember the last book had come out, and I was
Yeah.
standing outside in the rain, waiting for the book to
Oh, yeah.
release. Yeah,
People
so that I
were
could buy it.
queuing up. The only publishing phenomenon since then I've seen like that in Bangalore is the BTS biography that was released last year. I, by
Wow.
chance, had gone to the bookshop on the same day, and I just saw queues of girls outside the bookshop waiting for, BTS, the K-pop band.
The K-pop band.
Yeah.
Wow.
Their biography was
Okay.
released last year, and I saw like hordes of girls outside, of young women outside.
Crazy.
Yeah.
2005 was also when torrents exploded, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
We were
I
all
remember
torrenting.
when, downloading like discographies in one shot. God, that was
I
fun.
was just discovering music left and right.
Yeah.
Torrents. I would either download myself, or I would give friends a couple of blank CDs, or better still blank DVDs, and say, just burn me stuff, man.
Yeah. Wow. Good times.
Which brings me to an interesting point, which I know GK and I have touched upon earlier. I think this generation will actually, I don't want to sound like an old guy, but this is a generation which will miss the joy on tape. Maybe we, at least my generation, was the last one which actually went to stores, picked up music, just looking at the covers, and bringing it home and discovering like, oh my god, like this is epic. You know, I mean, I remember getting Dayside like that, and my life just changed. Iron Maiden, just look at the album covers, bring it home, and just it's brilliant. So I think, well, now you have YouTube, but I don't think it's entirely the same.
It's not.
Yeah, it's definitely not. The feel of walking into a music store even today is it's just completely different. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of rush. Yes, you were saying.
Just find something random. You'd like the cover art. You'd beg the guy at the counter to play you a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Especially in the cassette days, because we had these, remember those plastic cassette covers we had in India?
Yeah.
So those were easy with your thumbnail to sort of open the seal and put it in and sing, play a couple of songs for the customer. It was great fun. Otherwise, CDs and stuff, they didn't like unsealing them for you. So you'd pretty much either know the music already, or you'd look at the album cover art, and then you'd look at the song names and imagine what it sounded like, and take it home purely on the basis of that.
Yeah, and for some of us, it was if you were reading the magazines, or you were at that point of time at certain parts of the internet, you knew labels. Like for me, growing up, Metal Blade and Roadrunner were huge, because you could not get Century Media, you couldn't get Nuclear Blast, you couldn't get anything else. So Metal Blade, especially in the late 90s, early 2000s, an uncle of mine had a music store. So he got like a whole catalog of just Metal Blade and Earache. So all of my initial listening was just bands from this catalog. So Carcass, you had your Slayer, and the good Slayer, the Metal Blade Slayer. You had Cannibal Corpse and Vader and stuff like that. So that educated a lot of my listening, which obviously plays into the stuff which I am into currently now. But keeping up to the topic of the stuff that from 2005 we look back on fondly. That's this topic. And JP, let's start with you. What would be your first album that you would like to talk about?
No, we'll start with the honourable mention.
Oh yes.
And go around the room with all of our honourable mentions. Yeah.
Okay.
And then do the 3, 2, 1.
Oh, like that. I don't have a particular order for my top 3. But
neither do we. We don't come to this prepared, at least.
I mean, sometimes. I do have something that I've settled on for number 1, I guess. So for my honorable mention, I'd like to nominate the album "I Am a Bird Now" by the band that was then known as Anthony and the Johnsons and is
Oh,
now known as Anoni. The singer transitioned and her name is now Anoni. This was Anthony and the Johnsons / Anoni's second album. And just to give you a brief idea, Anoni is someone whose voice sounds like a cross between Nina Simone and Scott Walker.
Oh,
It's
wow.
this amazing, emotional, depressed vibrato with a huge range. And the music is kind of based around piano, but it's not classical. It's more like music hall piano. But these are all slow, melancholy songs. The topic, particularly on this album, a lot of it was working through gender issues, working through identity, in very interesting, very creative ways. Even if, like me, you've always been a cis male, it's impossible not to feel that gorgeous, unique voice sort of drag you into these wonderful soundscapes. And on this album, Anoni had some pretty heavyweight guests like Lou Reed, Boy George, and many others, sort of sowing the promise of a long running and very talented artist, which she has continued to be.
Mm.
So, yeah, I would say I Am a Bird Now by Anthony and the Johnsons is my honorable mention for an absolutely unique album by an absolutely unique voice, that sort of transcends genre. I think anyone who's looking for something really authentic and unique, or very, very of itself, would appreciate it. And only has one of those voices that you cannot mistake, like a Bjork or someone. It's just their own voice. So that's my honorable mention.
GK, are you
nice.
into this? Into the artist?
Sorry. Yeah. This album, I don't remember too
Hmm.
much of it, but Anhoni, yes, she has an album called Hopelessness,
I think
I
that's
think,
the
which
one we
is,
all discovered her with.
yeah, it is quite
Had these
fantastic.
beautiful
That's,
songs on climate
yeah,
change and
uh,
the drone bomb
it's,
legacy of Obama.
yeah, correct.
Lots of fantastic things,
Mhm.
including, the personal aspects also continue.
Yeah,
But yeah.
but yeah, Anthony, in the original band, the previous band as well, like really unique stuff, like JP said. I think Anhoni's solo stuff would probably be more accessible maybe for slightly or rather very experimental synth pop kind of way. I don't
It's
know
grown a
if
little more
it's
lush. I think the
huh
songwriting has grown more lush.
yeah, but overall, yeah, definitely an artist that people should check out. Yeah.
From what you guys have unfortunately never heard this, but I will rectify this right after
Sure.
this conversation.
It's a little off the beaten track from
Right.
the music that we all have in common.
Mm.
But I think even the fact that two of us sitting in this chat appreciate it
Yeah, 100%.
suggests that, yeah.
Yeah, so I've not heard this, but from
Mm.
what you're describing, it sounds very similar to what Lingua Ignora does,
Yeah,
especially in
Yes.
her
yeah. That's a
latter
good
day albums.
comparison. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So I
there's
think,
that same sense of like emotional catharsis.
correct.
But I guess Lingua Ignota is more centered in metal without being metal.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
much
So,
metal.
so Lingua Ignota and Chelsea Wolf, I feel they are the most non-metal artists that I listen to.
Mm.
So I think if that is a good comparison, then that is something. This artist is something also which I would enjoy.
Yeah.
GK, let's move to you. What would be your honorable mention?
Okay, I don't know if this will be visible with my background
Meads of
on.
Asphodel.
The Meads of Asphodel, Damascus Steel. Yeah, this is, I'd say again, unique might be the buzzword so far today, but very unique sounding black metal band from the UK, I think formed late 90s by Metatron, whose identity still remains shrouded in mystery, and Jalda Boat, who is basically also the founding member of Old Forest, one of the
Yeah.
first second wave bands from the UK. And yeah, completely unique black metal. A lot of their ideology seems as much black metal as anarcho-punk. Like it could be crass and it could be dark throne at the same time. At the same time, on this particular album, they also cover Hawkwind. So and Hugh Lloyd Langton played with them for a long while. on subsequent albums as well. So
Louis
there are,
Armstrong as well. They have a weird and wonderful Louis Armstrong.
yeah, a cover of
What
Wonderful
a
World,
wonderful world.
yeah. But overall, yeah, really unique album, and I think this is where, for the first time, all their influences came together into a cohesive whole with Damascus Steel, and one of those albums that I keep going back to.
So, JB, what are your thoughts on this album?
Well, one thing I always used to depend on Gautam was giving me really, really left field metal recommendations. So many bands, from the chasm were pretty left field in their own way. Xoitaan, just a whole lot of things that he turned me onto that were a little different from the usual material in any of the metal genres. And I very much remember when he was getting into this album, and I listened to it thanks to him.
Mhm.
Uh, and yeah, it's actually been an age since I've listened to the Meads of Asphodel, which of
Mhm.
course is one of the medieval terms for the afterlife.
Yeah.
A kind of blissful meadow of these sleep-giving flowers. And also one of the few albums with a Crusader themed cover, which are neither NWBHM nor more traditional black metal.
Yeah, because I discovered Meads of Asphodel when I was getting into that the Middle Eastern or discovering bands who had that theme, and I was very surprised that these guys were from the UK.
Yeah.
And I love how dynamic, again, a common theme which will be repeated multiple times on this episode, especially. I feel is most part picks are very dynamic albums. Like this album has an intro piece called Psalm 666,
Mm.
which sets the mood. And then there are fast, aggressive black metal passages. There's slower, atmospheric, and even Middle Eastern influence interludes, which you can draw back to what they are, the entire ideology of the band. There is a lot of poetic lamentations. There are with black metal, as you would see, there are moments of horror, disgust. It's a very reflective album as well. And the thing is, it's something which is very well paced. They talk about very heavy topics as well as akin to most extreme metal bands. Like they talk about war, they talk about religious violence, they talk about the hypocrisy of dogma as akin to many extreme metal bands. There are repeated calls of stuff like Creed of Abraham, which just sticks in my memory for some reason. The dichotomy of inherited belief systems versus what the actions are, what is carried out, the hypocrisy of it all. It's a fantastically well laid out album, which I think is highly recommended. We will link in the description where you can check these albums out. Most likely there will be a Bandcamp or a YouTube link, but this is something which you should definitely check out if you're into extreme kind of music or just want a little bit more diversity in your day-to-day listening moods or whatever have you. Next is it my turn.
I'm pretty sure that Meads of Asphodel also were connected to a very weird album that I have from 2007 called The Bombs of Enduring Freedom, which you can already tell from the name is a kind of take on, the US's adventures in the Middle East.
Right.
And was more electronic and dubby, but again, very political, very angry, very unusual. And Yaldabaoth had this very strange other band under his own given name, Yaldabaoth. I mean, his own moniker, Yaldabaoth. Rise of the Heraldic Beasts, which was like if Monty Python had a black metal soundtrack.
Yeah, I was about to say like they remind me a lot about Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, if Monty Python actually made but Monty Python also tends to be very tongue in cheek and more comedic.
That's what I thought about Yaldabaoth's Rise of the Heraldic Beasts album.
Okay, so I thought like these guys were like Spinal Tap in the sense like they actually believed in
Yes.
everything these guys were they're talking about. They've actually their belief system is so strong that this is what we are putting out. We don't give a fuck about what you think. This is who we are, and take it or leave it as we do. But yeah, moving on to my honorable mention. This is where my reputation goes to shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a band called Trivium, Ascendancy 2005. It's their second studio album. They are you ask any of the kids who are into most of the stuff or most of the contemporary stuff, Trivium is a band which they will, especially people of my age, will hold very close to their hearts. It's definitely not something which I would be listening to in 2025, but 2005, this is an album which showcased a startling leap in maturity, because the first album I heard, the album which came out was called Embers to Inferno, which was still fine. It was raw, and this is, I feel, their landmark breakthrough album. And this is the album, if you want to go back to as a time capsule from that era of metal, how it sounded like, especially in the mainstream or just coming up to the mainstream. This album is the sound of 2005. There is a lot of contrast in this album. There is a lot of brutality. There is a lot of melody. It's extremely high testosterone, so as to say. There is what differentiated Trivium, and why I still think that they're very special, is unlike hardcore and punk, where most of metalcore drew from, or mostly hardcore. They drew their influences from the more traditional stuff like Iron Maiden, Metallica, In Flames, etc. I mean the old In Flames, and the bands fused this thrash metal and a little bit of extreme metal through speed picking, dual guitar harmonies, occasional black metal touches, with the obviously the hooks and the clean vocals, etc. The result is an atmosphere that is dark, it's imposing, and it's aggressive, but it's also melodic and clear. So it makes it a very good gateway band for many people who started getting into this kind of music at that age. The vocals obviously are the weakest part of every Trivium record. The vocals are still divisive. He can't sing. It's really bad. The harsh screams are forced. It sounds like it's unrefined to a like a someone who was in his mid teens or coming on to his late teens at that time. Maybe it was very impressive, but as and when your ears start getting more mature, you will realize like how badly sung this album is. But one thing which this album always had was great guitars. The guitarists, both Matt Heafy and Corey Biolo, they essentially channeled Metallica's James Hetfield's way of guitar playing into metalcore, which to me was like brilliant, because anything which harkens back to Metallica for me is always going to be number one. But anyway, it's still hailed as a masterpiece of modern metal. It's praised for its energy, its songwriting, musicianship, and while you can lump Trivium with, say, an Avenged Sevenfold or bands like Bullet for My Valentine, etc., there these comparisons only come from people who have not heard this one, or at least have heard not this album. So once you start listening to this as a whole, you will realize why some people will, even grizzled old people who listen to extreme metal, will go back and at least have some good things to say about Trivium's Ascendancy. JP, have you heard this album? Are you?
I'm sure I've heard Trivium, but I cannot remember anything about it. I was already reasonably set in my tastes in a lot of things by 2005, and I know that Trivium was one of those bands that just sounded like I couldn't relate to it. It was just that at that point of time, that whole plethora of bands that were happening around that point of time, I think I just lumped them all together and just maybe heard a song or two and never felt compelled to follow them further. One thing I do remember, because you were mentioning about their rather more varied guitar influences, is that there used to be a website called Peace Dog Man, which is basically where all these, boomer metalheads and guitar virtuoso aficionados used to hang out and post articles and stuff. And they actually had an article about the roots of Trivium, tracing out the kind of influences that you were mentioning, that they have surprisingly quite a lot of old school metal influences as a way for them to try and bridge the gap between newer fans who like Trivium to try and understand the kind of older metal and hard rock that the typical Peace Dog Man frequenter liked. That's interesting to hear that echoed. Gautam's back. Gautam, we've just been talking about Trivium.
that now he's gonna wonder why was I mad.
Like I said, I don't have clear enough memories of what Trivium sounded like to feel particularly uh, hurt or pleased by this pick.
Yeah.
Just one of those
GK, your
things.
thoughts on Trivium's Ascendancy?
Uh, so no,
No.
man, I'm sitting in the dark here, which is why,
Mm.
yeah, my video looks so terrible. But Trivium could never get into them. I don't know. They always felt like uh, sort of like they were trying too hard to be the next Metallica, maybe.
Yeah.
Like at least that was what I always thought. There was always and their music somehow felt very calculated and cynical on some fronts because it was like they had elements of everything that was popular in 2005. You know, they had some of the thrash bits, they had that whole machine head groove happening, they had the metalcore bits happening, and they were damn fine musicians, probably still are, but their songwriting was something that just never worked for me. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Right. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to defend Trivium in 2025. But I will only request that check it out now, and keep in mind that this is a time capsule. So if you were into that, and people of my age, like Achintya famously loves this album as well. Whenever we meet, there is some part of the conversation which always talks about this, and it's mostly to do with nostalgia. Speaking of, GK, since you're back and you're sitting in the dark, give us the most cult of the picks for 2005 that would make your list.
2005, yeah, okay. So, number three for me would be High on Fire, Blessed Black Wings. So, yeah, like I said earlier as well, right? This was around the time period when I was really getting into stoner, sludge, things like that. I think Surrounded by Thieves was something I was already familiar with, and it was quite a good album. But when this one came out, first time I heard it, again, it was a torrent download, absolutely blew my mind, right? It was heavy, it had some fantastic riffs, and the whole thing sounded like they'd recorded it in a cave. You know, that had this. Today we talk about cavernous death metal, right? This is like cavernous stoner metal, and the effect is just massive. And I think a lot of it also had to do with the production of this album. This was what Butch Vig, who did the production, I think.
Steve Albini.
Steve Albini, sorry. Yeah, and yeah, fantastic production. I mean, if you think about it, Matt Pike's vocals are not like the best in the world, right? He's got this hoarse, shouty, barking thing going on, which tends to get monotonous after a while. But it didn't matter because these songs were fantastic. The whole thing sounded amazing, and the rhythm section on this album was brilliant. Like the bass player, did he come from Melvins?
Yeah,
I
Joe
can't
Messi
remember
from
that.
Elvis.
From the Melvins, yeah. And the drummer also was brilliant, and overall, just a fantastic album. Your thoughts?
Yeah,
I feel, yeah, go ahead, GK.
yeah, very much. I mean, those years 2004, 5, 6, 7, very much when I was also discovering a lot of sludge, stoner, and so on, which I hadn't known before. And this album was just a complete kick in the side of the music system. It's just brilliant. And of course, Matt Pike is the worst Matt Pike style vocalist in sludge metal. But the production was so good that it didn't matter. And the songs were so good that
Yeah,
it
he
didn't
counters all
matter.
of this by taking off his shirt and playing those riffs.
Yeah.
I don't think I have ever seen a picture of Matt Pike with a shirt on.
I think there is one rare video on YouTube of Matt Pike demonstrating different riffs with a shirt on. Could be an impersonator or a body double.
Perhaps. But you know what? I feel this is also an album which I heard that year when it came out. And aside from the production value, which you said, because an Albini album is is something which, if you are into that kind of music, especially in the alternative scene, it by by his very technique, which Rick Rubin tries to copy very poorly, is very raw. It will always be very primal because he leaves the artist with the bare minimum to record it with. He wants the most authentic, no bells and whistles. And that authenticity comes across because this album, you can feel the struggle of, say, Matt Pike coming off sleep, because it's just not aggression for aggression's sake. In the vocals and the phrasing and shifts between the rawness and moments, there are multiple moments of melody. It doesn't pretend anything else. It is a defiant album. There are just cracks and aches and moves in this album, and there are also a lot of slower passages here where the atmospherics, again, that word dynamism, the atmospherics contrast with the full throttle assault, making the heavier parts hit that much harder. The lyrical moments are the lyrics of this album. They may not be sung well, but the lyrics are great. And Albani's approach, like I mentioned, he doesn't overproduce anything. He creates a lot of space, which makes every instrument, every vocal moment feel very tactile. The drums, that cavernous sound which you mentioned, it's only because Albani creates so much space. The guitar riffs are gnarly, the vocals are sometimes buried, but it's almost always every single element is very visceral. And obviously there is a lot of growth also. You can see from where the first album was, Among Thieves, to this. The band did not soften; they only got sharper. The riffs became more ambitious, so as to say, and the fire just kept burning, which led to them doing really, really great things as the years went on.
And I also just loved the album in terms of the presentation. Cover art looked like a segment from a Frazetta painting. The logo font, it was all so metal.
Yeah.
In 2005, a lot of us had been through a lot of years of sort of watching the visual language of metal become very, very, very different, with with new metal and other things, and the sort of cleaner, proggy stuff and all that. And suddenly to see something that just looked so recognizably metal, I don't know, it was just an immediate thrill.
Yeah, you look at the cover art and you know it's a metal band. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and unabashedly metal is not pretending to be anything else. Famously with Trivium, they were trying to fit in, like GK rightly mentioned, and they're still trying to fit in. They're still trying to play multiple places where metal may or may not fit. But High on Fire was metal then, is still metal now. The Bastard Sons of Lemmy and Co. Absolutely magnificent band, and a band whose discography, in my opinion, has no weak albums. It's just every single album there's something which you will always take back. It's always great. They may sound samey, but trust me, like Motorhead's discography as well, it's not the same. You can definitely pick up any High on Fire album. It's definitely worth your time.
Yeah, I don't think Pike has hit his falling off point yet.
Yeah.
In terms of just riffcraft.
Yeah. Let's move on to you, JP. What would be your pick?
Sure. So my third pick, number 3, would be Crush the Insects by Reverend Bizarre. Reverend Bizarre had previously made an album of extremely slow, though not funeral doom slow, extremely slow, repetitive doom metal. And sort of, staked a claim to be one of the forerunners of traditional doom, which was sort of making a huge comeback, or never had been, but was now becoming noticed moment in the mid 2000s, along with sludge and so many other things. So on Crush the Insects, they actually upped the tempo for the first 3 songs. It actually started with Doom Over the World, Devil Rides Out, and Cromwell, which, I mean, the shortest of these songs is still 5.5 minutes long, but comparatively for Reverend Bizarre, these were concise songs of a very up-tempo, which means plodding mid-tempo for any other style of metal. And they were anthemic. I think Doom Over the World in some ways was how the mid-2000s felt if you were into Doom. It was kind of having this moment where people were looking back and reassessing the history of metal and realizing, oh, there's always been this, this thing called doom, even though it's been scattered here and there. There's, there was Witchfinder General, there was Pagan Altar and Cathedral, and oh, this is actually a cohesive musical territory within metal of its own. So they started with these three really catchy songs. Again, simple riffs, memorable riffs, very dramatic, almost corny vocals. Again, this whole enterprise, like High on Fire, is very metal. I mean, there's no hiding behind labels and post this and semi that and progressive this and melodic that. It's just a very, very, very metal package. After that, the rest of the album is five extremely long, mostly very slow songs. Weirdly, immediately after the anthemic Cromwell, they lead with what I think is purposely an endurance test, Slave of Satan, a song in which almost nothing happens. And then the remaining songs are actually, though they're very long and slow, a little more diverse and interesting, particularly by this Aksai rule. So, the thing about this album is three of the songs are accessible, fun, doom, and the remaining are a treat if you're in the mood for it, and a complete endurance test or no if you're not in the mood for it. And I kind of also like the sheer whimsical eccentricity of doing that on an album. Not even varying it and spreading a couple of fast songs, a slow song, a couple of fast songs, just putting all your fast songs up front and then expecting the audience to just sit down and follow you through the extremely slow crawl of the rest of the album. Though again, now that we know what Funeral Doom is, this is perhaps not quite as slow and repetitive as that, but melodically it's very different. Funeral Doom kind of carries that length and repetition through the beauty of the melodies and the atmosphere, whereas this is simple, bare bones, no frills, slow metal.
Yeah.
What I always thought Reverend Bizarre was a couple of kids who watched or spent the entire evening watching Hammer films, reading Robert E. Howard, getting stoned, and not being in a condition to play the next morning when they had to record.
that's a lot of doom, actually.
Yeah,
that's
essentially how this album always felt to me. Yeah. The reason why I picked up this album back in the day was that song title, which is one of my favorite Robert E. Howard stories, by the Saxon Rule. So I was expecting Dungeons and Dragons and all of that stuff, because that is how they were from Scandinavia. Yeah, I think they were
Finland.
Yeah, they're from Finland. So, and I was like, holy shit, this might be my next favorite band. And I was in for a surprise. And not that I don't like this album, but yeah, Slaves of Satan. I mean, 13 minutes of just weight, and in both senses of the word, they are just echoing riffs and vocals. They are like, that guy's making some proclamation. But yeah, there's a lot of callbacks to, like I said, if you are into Hammer films, if you are into old classic fantasy and horror, they always echo back to it. They are more cathedral than cathedral in that way. But yeah, definitely, I would say it's an interesting album to check out.
It's not easy to listen to album, but I think it's very, very emblematic of what was happening in doom around that time, and something that shaped my listening and sensibilities a lot from the year 2005.
Yeah.
Gautam, thoughts on?
Love the band, love this album as well. They always gave me a vibe of like listening to a whole lot of Witchfinder General and Candlemas, drinking a whole lot of cough syrup, smoking a ton of weed, and then writing their songs. It's essentially, it is classic traditional doom taken, I think, to its extreme form in terms of tempo. At least with a lot of the riffs. Maybe not the first three songs like you mentioned, like Doom Over the World is quite an anthemic piece, as is Cromwell. But when they hit their slow stride, it's like, a whole lot of weed and a whole lot of cough syrup. But Yeah, terrific band, and
And
love the vocals.
and like Saint Vitus, it's very stripped down musically.
Yeah, but yeah, it is, but also very European, no, in
Yeah,
their heavy metal.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, basically a lot of
that
candles.
flash always shows that European flash,
Aha,
that always shines through. Is it my turn now?
yeah,
So again, none of these are in order. In any given day, this could be any of these albums could be my number one. Which the album which I want to talk about right now is Rites of Thy Degringolade, uh, and the album name is An Ode to Sin. Essentially, to tell you more about Rites, and I will not attempt to say Degringolade again. Rites is essentially it's blackened death, almost dissonant extreme metal from Canada, and it's just 35 minutes of blasting. And the album actually opts for a lot of brevity and density instead of filler. It's compact. It's a blast of focused aggression that keeps tension really high throughout. Uh, to describe how this band is, or rather this album is, it's feral, chaotic. Like say you listen to Conqueror or you listen to Revenge, but not that Ross Bay cult uh, chimp out music. You know, it's composed. It's very much well thought out. Uh, and this is also a rare album where we listen to a lot of war metal here. We listen to a lot of black metal. We listen to a lot of bands which mix black and death metal. This is a band which draws a clear demarcation in this album. There are songs which are pure black metal, and there are songs which are pure brutality of death metal and dissonance. And the result is a violent, claustrophobic sound that still is careful and has a lot of great songwriting beneath all that chaos. So GK, especially someone like you who loves Order from Chaos, you know this is something that you would absolutely love if you've not heard of it already. The riffs and songwritings, there is, like I mentioned, a layered aggression. The record isn't fast. It's not noisy just for making noise's sake. There is a lot of clever riff architecture. There are sudden shifts of aggression. There are a lot of jagged melodic hooks, like something like a DSO, if you like old DSO pre-fast with the Shakshulias. You know, there's something which you will absolutely love. And, you know, the production as well. It's raw, it's powerful. The band especially sounds visceral and immediate. It's an album which attempts to grab you by the throat. You know, the vocal delivery and the background texture, it's almost like a ritualistic, unnerving atmosphere that it creates. It's not pretty, but it's essential if you want to get into the more extreme types of music. You know, if, uh, if you want to get more into the DSO, the Revenge, the Conqueror, and all of these kind of bands, this is an album which, even Incantation for that matter, this is an album which should be really high on your list. It's recommended for listeners, like I said, who want intensity without losing the compositional craft. GK, your thoughts?
yeah, I like this band quite a bit. Always a mouthful to say it out loud, but yeah, solid band. I think Order from Chaos is a good touch point comparison for these guys. And yeah, again, one of those Black and Death, bordering on war metal, whatever you want to call it, like savage riffing, to the point, like you said, like there's no fat at all on this album, right? It's like really one straight blast of insanity, and what it's like a 35-minute album, I think.
Yeah, 35 minutes.
Yeah, and yeah, really solid stuff. Good pick, yeah, and like
Yeah,
from quite deep in the underground.
yeah, it's a high watermark of this band. I love the Blade album as well, but for me, this is the peak of Rights. Yeah, JP, are you into this band?
Don't have anything to add. I shall definitely be checking this out.
Sure, I'll send you the link. Next up, GK, what would be your next pick?
Okay, next pick is Deceased as the Weird Traveler. So, 2005, this is what the band was already quite long in the tooth, I guess,
Yeah.
in the late 80s. absolute institution of American death metal that still hasn't got the kind of credit that they should. And also probably because, when we decided about this, I was listening to this particular album again, right? And Deceased, you'll place them in the death metal camp, but there's no other death metal band that sounds like them, right? There are on this album, there are riffs there that you can trace back to early Dokken, early Accept, that twin guitar melodies that are pure Maiden, and it's all delivered in a, you can still say, a death metal structure, right? But also the song lengths. I mean, every song is, I would say, over the 7 minute mark, and that's pretty much become one of their trademarks now. And for some crazy reason, or just the mastery of their craft, it never gets boring. Like super smooth transitions, or just enough experimentation on every album to keep it fresh. Like I think on what's the second song on this album, Funeral
Funeral
Parlor
Parlor
Secret.
Secret?
Yeah, right. You have that main riff going, and then just out of nowhere, just for a few seconds, there's an organ happening in the background that's replicating the main riff, and you're like, whoa. And those moments for me are what make Deceased, right? Every song will have at least two or three of those absolute standout moments that make you want to go back and listen to it again. And it's a lot to take in, I guess. Maybe that's one of the reasons why there's still uh, so much a part of the underground, even after like 40 years and God knows how many albums. But overall, brilliant. And the lyrics. I mean, if you want a horror themed metal band, Deceased is right up there. And ridiculously consistent as well. My favorite album by them keeps changing all the time. And right now, it's probably As the Weird Travel On. Sometimes it's Fearless Undead Machines, but uh, Blueprints of Madness, my god. I mean, I can't really pick between everything they've released so far, but this album, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Like there's a song called here. I think the last or the second to the last song called "A Visit from the Dread."
Mhm.
There is an Americana twang acoustic guitar part there, and the first time I heard this, I was like, "What the fuck is going on? Is this supposed to be death metal?" Obituary famously did this in their last album as well. They had like a acoustic section there, but yeah, they started off as a band who wanted to out thrash Slayer, and that I think is a key facet in understanding the Sea Sound. They are death metal with thrash metal vocals, or that's how I perceive it, especially on this album. You know, King Fowley, obviously an underground legend, someone who I can listen to for days on end. He is I think on this album, he's the first album where he's not playing the drums. They got in someone else to play the drums.
Yeah,
And it feels like you rightly mentioned, GK. It's like visit or walking through a haunted house
yeah,
in midnight, because all of these songs, Funeral Power Secret, This Was Asperia, Visit from the Dread, Unwanted Memories, Missing a Pulse, all of these songs are great horror stories.
Yeah.
So if you listen to the lyrics, you will be taken through that journey. The vocals, they are raw, they are barked. Sometimes King Polly goes on a shriek, but they all are that authentic, rooted to that New Jersey crime. They carry that weight. And what hits hardest is how this album balances that brutality with that mood. A lot of times, what happens is when people go with that horror themed shtick, it becomes exactly that, a shtick. Not talking about Rob Zombie here at all, but here it's so
You can talk
authentic.
about Rob Zombie.
Here, here it's very authentic. The guitars rip. There is, like I mentioned, thrash. The drums are pummeling, and obviously there are sudden pauses, eerie guitar leads. There is that organ which comes in. These contrasts, again, the dynamics, they'll catch your breath and they'll always make you go back to this album. This has been my favorite Deceased album ever since I discovered this band, and this will continue to be my favorite Deceased album till they release, uh, uh, as the Weird Traveled On 2, which, judging by this band, it'll never happen, because like these guys, they don't rest on their laurels. 40 years on, they keep changing their sound, they keep experimenting, they keep doing weird stuff. Children of the Morgue from last year, I think, was a
Yeah.
fantastic album. But if you want to see Peak or listen to Peak Deceased as the way it travels on, doesn't get any better than this. JP, your thoughts?
I would largely agree. My deceased faves are very similar to GK's. I've never really been disappointed by any albums of theirs, and like an album like this has so much more repeat value to my ears than a lot of better known,
Correct.
2-3 death metal bands. Like I just don't find that much repeat value sometimes in going back to old DSI. I know that's heresy to say, but with Deceased, I always find that for some reason, uh, King Farley's always hit this sweet spot where it's completely brutal and in your face, but there's a kind of songwriting wholesomeness to it,
Mhm.
where each song is not a repeat of the previous one on an album. I also wanted to share a couple of things. You mentioned about listening to his opinions, and I always find it amusing that, he dismisses Metallica as boogie metal, and on the other hand, he loves Surit Ungol.
Mhm.
So that one of the rounds of Surit Ungol CD reissues, each album has these loving fanboy liner notes by Kingsley, by King Foley. I just find his opinions very, very, very unique and fascinating.
Yeah.
You should check out his opinions on Morbid Angel.
Oh, really?
If you thought anyone can hate a band that much, people should hear King Foley talk about Morbid Angel. He is hater world class when it comes to that band. He despises them. Like if given a wish, and these are his words, that you take over my entire career, but erase Morbid Angel from metal history, I would take that. He
What
hates
would you
that band.
say? What would you say is his main objection to them? Like with Metallica,
I,
it's encompassed in the phrase boogie metal. He just feels
yeah,
there's too much boogie woogie, too much nonsensical bar band rock and roll in the background in Metallica sound. Which agree to disagree, but it's clear what his objection is.
yeah.
What's
So
the
with him,
Morbid Angel?
it's personal. Like Trey and Dave, they went out of their way to fuck the Deceased when they were coming up.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah. So apparently there was a festival again. I'll send you that interview. I'll try to find it and send it to you. There was a festival in the late 80s or late 80s called Day of the Dead, where all of these bands played. Monstrosity was there, Cannibal Corpse, Morbid Angel, Deceased, and they had a banner up, a Deceased banner, and they were going up right after or before Morbid Angel. And Trey came and said, like, you can't put that banner up. And obviously, at that time, Morbid Angel was a draw. And so they said, like, fuck it, we gotta put a banner up. What do you expect us to do? We traveled all this way from Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania, wherever they're from, and we have this banner up. And David Vincent, I'm sorry, Trey Azithot didn't have any part of it. Second, uh, they didn't allow them to sell the T-shirts in that gig. They didn't allow them to hang out backstage after they played. And they wanted to stage a massive walkout if Deceased was seen in the premises. So it goes back to all very personal issues that he has. I love his conversation. I normally don't listen or don't take Dead by Dog very seriously. I think just, it's just a character, a very funny character, but a character nonetheless. But his appearances with King Pauli are some of the best Dead by Dog episodes that you can watch, because he just balances out Dog's ridiculousness with how real he is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's also he spent decades calling Metallica boogie metal.
Yeah.
Which I think
He hates all of that stuff. I mean,
yeah. He's consistent. His aesthetics are
he's
very.
absolutely consistent.
His aesthetics make sense internally, which is why I think the songwriting is also so well rounded.
Yeah.
It's like horrible themed art made with a high level of artistic application.
Integrity.
Yeah. I guess it's
Your turn.
whose turn? Mine again?
Yeah.
Okay. So my second pick would be Hive Exodus by Clutch. Clutch is this Maryland-based band that sort of started in a more hardcore, punkish format, and then sort of got more and more groovy, a lot more. The North American hard rock before glam. Like Bachman Turner Overdrive and
Yeah.
Grand Funk. That sort of North American hard rock. The sort of very nice four on the floor grooves and that.
Foreigner types.
Huh?
Foreigner, etc.
No, not okay. Maybe very early Foreigner. Yeah, before they became very slick. That's why Grand Funk, Bachman Turner Overdrive, The Guess Who. That kind of. It's not really proto metal because it is not leaning towards metal, but it coexisted with proto metal. I just call it early North American hard rock. So they have elements of that. They started moving more and more in that sound. They started having more and more bluesiness in their music, and I think Robot Have Exodus kind of catches them at that cusp where it's very groovy. This album is like an encyclopedia of groove, for people who like heavy music, without being anywhere close to groove metal. It's just really, really heavy but funky stuff, like you would also get sometimes from Deep Purple when they go into their more groovy, funky numbers. And my God, the singer Neil Fallon is just a lyrical monster. I don't even know if any of the lyrics make sense, but they're so colorful, and he references science fiction, and he references all kinds of odds and ends of rock history, of geography, and just you never know what's going to pop up in his lyrics. He talks about the silver women on the cover of Omni magazine, which was a 1980s science fiction magazine, and then he extensively refers to Cthulhu in another song. But it's all very tongue-in-cheek. It's very stream of consciousness, and they talk about rappers spitting bars. Even though he's singing, he has that kind of a vibe to him. It's like the way the flow of the words and the rhymes are is just so incredibly catchy. The whole band is no slouch. They've had an identical lineup throughout their recording career, except that from this album and the couple after that, they had a keyboardist who sadly after that left the band and passed away of cancer sometime around 2014. So I used to think that, what sets this album apart is the keyboard, the organ. But actually, the songs really stand even without the addition of that element. It's just very, very good, very catchy, very in your face rock and roll. That can as easily pack a mosh pit as, I suppose if you want to dance to it, you could. And it's also part of the mid 2000s thing where people like me who were always wondering, where are the other dimensions in metal? Why is everyone around me listening to either Korn or Meshuggah? Where's the more open-ended songwriting that I love so much and miss? This is again one of those bands that made me realize that, that's still present, that's still there. So this was a massive album for me in 2005, 6, 7. It was just in an almost constant rotation on first MP3s, and later, a few years back, I got a vinyl of it. But yeah, it's just one of those albums that I think even now I return to a lot.
GK, your thoughts?
Yeah, fantastic band. Great album. I think, this is where I feel like they really embrace the hard rock side of it and the blues side of their music. Tons of grooves, like JP said, total stoner vibe throughout. Not as, I would say, frantic as their previous albums like Pure Rock Fury or Blast Tyrant, which still had some of those bluesy elements but were a lot more aggressive. This is maybe a little more chilled out, but great stuff overall. Yeah, and Neil Fallon's an amazing vocalist. God, I think this one may have been his peak as a vocalist and a lyricist, but he does not. He never disappoints. Like right from the first self-titled album all the way till what was Earthrocker. My God, his performance on Earthrocker also is fantastic. But terrific vocalist, terrific band, and really great songwriters. I love Clutch.
It's, like I said, the lineup has not changed throughout their recording history.
Yeah.
And it shows the way they lock together.
Never really got into Clutch, but the first time I heard of them was when I heard Mastodon's Leviathan for the first time. That is one of my favorite albums from that band. one of my favorite albums from that era. And Mastodon's first song in that album had Neil Fallon on guest vocals, Blood and Thunder.
Hmm.
So I was going through the liner notes, and I saw like featuring the additional vocals by Neil Fallon. So I obviously did my research and I found Clutch. Never, unfortunately, could get into the band. But since it comes with both of your recommendations, I'll make it a point to check at least this album out. Jiga,
Hey,
you want to go next or should I go
Gautam,
next?
Huh.
do you think King Fowley would like Clutch? Because he disdains Boogie so much.
Yeah.
He wouldn't, right?
No, he wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't think he would. Yeah.
So
GK,
that's a
you're
valid
disappearing.
choice.
Probably
GK
wouldn't.
keeps being replaced by this skull on a stick.
Yeah, I swear, dude. What a fucking shit show. But Power is still not on. And I'm still sitting in the dark. Now
I kept disappearing as
Yeah.
well. So this has just been a very badly put together event. Through no fault of the hosts themselves.
Yeah, we'll blame it on living in the third world.
Yeah.
So
what's your
that's
next
still
pick?
yet. You want to go next? Should I go next?
Oh, I think it's...
Whose turn is it? Mine? Okay,
How many
my
picks have
number
you
one
did?
pick,
How many picks have you
2. I think we're all done with 2.
Then it's me.
It's you.
Okay.
And keeping up with the
It's
cult
Abhishek.
atmosphere and the proceedings, my next pick would be a band called Macabre Omen, and the album is Ancient Returns. So Macabre Omen is essentially a Greek black metal band, and it is, in my estimation, the closest that any band has got to Battery. You know, it's compact, it's darkly majestic. It is essentially it's Greek chronicles, but riffs. Essentially, if you take like all of those Hellenic chants, etc., and you add heavy guitars to it, that is essentially how Macabre Omen would sound. On first listen, like I mentioned, you will notice 3 things. You will remember the riffs, you will remember that atmosphere, and you remember the pacing. This band just does not pad. All right, there are 6 tracks, 38 minutes. Every passage is well thought out. It's well placed. If there are the earlier part of Bloodfire Death here, the latter part is Nordland, and the invocation to the gods kind of thing. So what makes excuse me Ancient Return special is the blend, is that exact blend of ferocious black metal energy and that deliberate invocation, the deliberate melodic craft. It's not noise. The lines which are there are actually thematic in nature. The vocals, the background structures, they have that ritualistic air yet again. And while the production is pretty raw by 2025 standards, it's enough to have that tribal energy and that it's clear enough to let those melodies breathe. So if you are familiar, as I know that both of you are, with Bathory's Bloodfire Death, that record in fact widened black metal into the anthemic. You know, it brought in that Viking storytelling, etc. This album is like its Greek cousin. They both fear epic contrast, but when I say Greek black metal, it's not your Parathrons or it's not your Rotting Prince. This is closer to its Scandinavian roots than it is to the Hellenic. You know, that imagery is there. Essentially, if gladiators would listen to some kind of music before they went out for war, this is essentially what they would listen to. So pick this up if you like black metal that rewards repeated listens. If you like your fury threaded with melody, if you like your black metal to have a flair for the dramatic, if you like that epic feeling with a Mediterranean soul, if you want to pretend that the broom in your house is a sword, this is the album you should be listening to. Macabre Omen, uh, The Ancient Returns. Absolutely magnificent album by an absolutely magnificent band.
Yeah, I haven't heard this album in a long while, so this is something I'll have to revisit. I don't really remember a lot of it as well, but yes, I will definitely be revisiting this one. Especially I'm in the mood for some sword fighting with my broom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard this, and I look forward to, especially with the the Bathory comparison. I'm anyway fairly well disposed towards Greek black metal, and this sounds like something I should really. I'm a bit of a epic. I
Yeah.
love the epic strands of all metal genres. So yeah.
Next year up, JP, what would be your
Sure.
last pick?
So my number one pick is Bruce Dickinson's solo album from 2005, Tyranny of Souls. This was released. It was quickly recorded between recording and tours for Iron Maiden's Dance of Death and Matter of Life and Death. I think it was even perhaps demoed and partly recorded during the Iron Maiden tours, because at this point of time, Roisey was sending riff recordings to Bruce. Bruce was listening to them in the plane or however he was making his way to the next Maiden gig and sending back ideas to Roisey, the guitarist who for a very long time was his chief collaborator in his solo albums. And you would think that it's sort of a hurried, put together solo vanity project in between his main band. It's not. It's a little more fun and it's a little more loosely strung together than the two brilliant predecessors, Accident of Birth and Chemical Wedding. It has less of that immense sort of monolithic weight that those two albums had. It's got a few deviations from what Dickinson had been doing on those two albums, but it also catches Dickinson at something of a peak as far as his voice is concerned. I mean, you have the young Dickinson voice, which you can hear all the way from Samson till maybe somewhere in time. Okay, that's the young Dickinson at the peak of his range and with less of the lows but lots of highs in his pipes and just singing his heart out. But this era of Dickinson was, I think, when the later mature Dickinson with a little more gravitas in the voice, a little more low end but still a very decent high end, still remained. And particularly after dance of the dance of the Dead, I feel Iron Maiden failed to utilize the fact that they had one of heavy metal's great vocalists in one of his career best forms. I think the compositions on Matter of Life and Death did not challenge him to go out on a limb, and I think subsequent albums have just not brought out those those
Yeah.
those, those completely show-stopping performances that he's capable of. So I think this is the very last time that you absolutely hear a metal master at the peak of his craft. Uh, there are songs like Navigate the Seas of the Sun, which is more ballady, uh, where just the depth and the color in his voice are incredible. The heavy songs are brilliant. It has some of his most extended notes since Number of the Beast. It also has the song, uh, the song which I think is his nod to the sleazy biker songs that Rob Halford loved writing so much. Uh, uh, so sorry, I'm a total shit show today. No research, no preparation. Yes.
That's how we like it, no one.
Okay. So it had a Devil on a Hog, which was I think his nod to that whole sleazy biker type of song. And then songs like Abduction, Soul Intruders, just the sheer power. Kill Devil Hill is his ode to the early days of aviation, specifically to the Wright brothers, and it's just a beautiful song slash history lesson. Then towards the end of the album, you have Believer, which is very very strange and abstract until last couple of minutes, and then the very majestic title track, A Tyranny of Souls. And even though they sort of put this album together without really being face to face a lot of the time, I think in particular Bruce and Roisey really, really made an album that has equal amounts of heavy and epic and ballady songs and just a little bit of tongue in cheek fun also. And it's a very special album to me because I really think that this is one of the last absolutely earth shattering performances by Dickinson that you'll get. I really like the Mandrake project, but a lot of things have taken a toll on his pipes. Poor guy, he's also been through cancer, which it's amazing he can still sing the way he does. But yeah, I think Tyranny of Souls to me is really, really important as one of the finest performances from just one of the finest voices.
I think would I be wrong to say that this is the last album where he actually sounds hungry?
Yeah, you could say that. I
because
think that
there are
it's
moments like you mentioned, where he pulses, he pushes, and there is a lot of lamentation in his voice as well. You can feel that he cares deeply about what he's saying and how he's saying it.
yeah.
You know, which I thought, and this is why I don't like the Latter Day Maiden much, because that conviction is not there anymore in that song.
Yeah. Also because I think, I don't know, Harris's songwriting on Latter Day Maiden doesn't challenge Bruce at all.
Mm.
Like, he could sing these songs in his sleep pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, you look at, damn it, what is that song on the Mandrake project that's also on Book of Souls?
Oh yes, if
Uh,
eternity should fall,
if
or
eternity,
eternity
yeah,
has failed. Yeah,
has failed, right? You listen to the Book of Souls
it's
version,
night
you
and
listen
day.
to it's night and day, yeah. There is so much more gravitas and power in his delivery on the Mandrake project, whereas on Book of Souls, it's just another Latter Day Maiden song, right? I mean, but yeah, coming back to Tyranny of Souls, great album, and what a terrific 3 album run this was. Like, I don't think any one of us expected this from Bruce Light. Like, Accident of Birth, The Chemical Wedding, Tyranny of Souls, just brilliant stuff all the way through. And yeah, really, really good album.
Yeah, it's a lot balanced as well. This album does not stay in one lane like the Latter Day Maiden albums do. It has like very fast, heavy riffs. It has that introspective moments as well. And there again, it's that word. It's dynamic. You know, the listener isn't crushed nonstop, or hurt, or challenged, or moved constantly. It's always ever changing, ever shifting, and there is no pretense. Because here Bruce is grappling with big subjects. You know, you have your tales about mortality, about his belief system, science fiction, obviously, and grappling with his inner demons as well. So none of it comes across as something which is cheap. The lyrics are obviously very well thought out. The imagery, as always with Dickinson singing, it's always vivid. The album takes itself very seriously, and it not in a way that feels pompous, unlike Maiden. It retains that humanity, you know. And I think that aside from being hungry, it is also the most human. I feel that Bruce Dickinson has sounded in a very, very long time.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. In Maiden, he sometimes just sounds like an automaton. Come and make a Bruce Dickinson type noise here
Yeah.
for 16 choruses. Of course, that said, I really liked last year's The Mandrake project. He stopped collaborating with Roy Z now. And he's actually trying to go back into the studio in January with the live touring band whom he's been taking all over the place.
Yeah.
Should be
Did you
interesting.
check out More Balls to Picasso?
Yeah. So it's a lot of slightly reimagined arrangements
Yeah.
and things. So I'm not. To me, it didn't feel like that drastic a difference because the core of the songs is the same. But Dickinson feels this is how he always wanted it to be.
He
So
always wanted it to
good
be,
for
right?
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Like, some of the songs I felt worked better. The only one I didn't like on this new one was Tears of the Dragon. That I felt was maybe like a little too much compared to what it was on the original
I thought they
album.
nailed it the first time round, and I think he
Yeah.
added a lot more fiddly stuff.
Mm. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Is
My
that
number
Steve
one pick.
Harris influence rearing its head again?
I think it's just his own love of pomp and
Yeah.
circumstance,
Mm.
and at his age, he might as well indulge it.
GK, last pick.
Yeah.
I know what it
My
is.
number one pick for 2005, Nevermore, this Godless Endeavor. Right? All-time favorite band, Waddle Day, all-time favorite vocalist. If I had a heavy metal Mount Rushmore for my vocalists, it would be Dickinson, Dio, Dane, Alan Averill, and Nick Holmes. And yeah, this guy is just brilliant. Jeff Loomis, obviously fantastic, and this album really just blew my mind. Apart from all of the nostalgia and being in a new city and listening to this constantly on loop, just the songs hold up really well. right from album opener, which I think is Born, and then you have My Final Product, then you have Sentient Six, and uh, Dane had this obsession, I guess, or very early interest in artificial intelligence. There was also the learning from Politics of Ecstasy, which was about AI. And but on Sentient Six, he makes you feel sad for AI. You know, there's so much emotion in his voice and his delivery. Some of his lyrics now, looking back at it in hindsight, can get a little cheesy, but he delivers it with so much passion and emotion and belief that, yeah, he makes you feel things. And a very unique vocalist, I would say. Like the first time I heard Nevermore, I was like, this is the same guy from Sanctuary, because Sanctuary was, a lot more traditional 80s heavy metal. But yeah, fantastic vocalist. And then, of course, the ballad Sell My Heart for Stones, another fantastic song. This Godless Endeavor itself, the title song. Um, I know a lot of people, the selling point for Nevermore is Jeff Loomis and his guitar playing, but for me, it's always been Dane. Yeah, without Dane, Nevermore would have been just any other prog metal band from the 2000s, I feel. What brought the X factor to this band. Yeah. So that's
More
this
than just
Godless
a
Endeavor.
just more than just a heavy album. It's heavy. It's definitely very heavy, but it's not numb. Because the songs hit you very, very. It's a very physical, very visceral listen. It'll make you think. You can feel those riffs and also feel that tension in the verse. Like,
Oh dear. We had another
Yeah,
power
I
cut.
think somebody, yep, another power cut looks like. JP, your thoughts?
Yeah, this again was an album that was on very heavy rotation for me for several years actually.
Hmm.
And it's perhaps a little less. The percentage of ballady moments is perhaps a little more than in their previous
Hmm.
few albums, but it
Yeah.
doesn't lose any intensity in the process. This is about the most dark and melancholic and majestic you can get in metal without actually just going out and out gothic. You know, they somehow
Yeah.
manage to remain within the realm of their sort of thrash slash speed beginnings. And
True.
yeah, that I think the Loomis Boraldane partnership was another one that won't be repeated.
Yeah.
Loomis is great, but I didn't see him really being exploited to his fullest in a situation like Arch Enemy. And
Yeah. Seriously, I think wasted an arch enemy. But I am so curious to know what this new iteration of Nevermore is going to be like.
yeah, do you know anything about?
No, no, nothing. There's absolutely no news. I'm hoping for nice vinyl reissues of all the albums
Sure.
since they'll be on the comeback trail. But uh, yeah, like who's going to step into Dane's shoes? That's going to be a tricky job. Okay.
I just can't imagine. I mean, just it just seems like one of those things where maybe you should just call your band something else.
Something else. Yeah, seriously, that's true. Hey, Abhi, welcome back. We were just talking about Nevermore's new iteration and who's going to step into Dane's shoes and whether Jeff Loomis should probably just call it something else.
yeah, I think this is an exercise in futility. I feel,
Mm.
and I have gone over this on this podcast before as well. I don't think they should. It rarely ever works. This kind of like Pantera is currently doing it,
Oh,
but
God.
it's not Pantera. You can have as much as you can have Phil Anselmo peacock around on stage and do all of that, but it's rarely ever that band because Warren, like I mentioned, was one of the rare vocalists that transcended and took that band to the next level. We all know how it has worked out for Jeff Loomis since. He has been a bit player in Megadeth. He's a bit player in Arch Enemy of all bands. Van Williams, God only knows what he's up to. Jim Shepard, no one's heard from. Last seen at the back of a milk carton. God only knows what is going on.
No. Shepard's not invited, no.
No.
Shepard was super pissed. He's not invited at all.
Oh, so there you go.
So this is just Van Williams and Loomis.
Yeah, it all points to like a Maryland Deathfest kind of a scenario where these guys will be headlining or co-headlining, and that's essentially it. I don't think any vocalist, like there are certain vocalists who are irreplaceable. No one can do justice to it. One of them being Pete Steele, second being Nick Holmes, third being, Hetfield can't even mention in that same breath. But, they are irreplaceable. And, and same, we're seeing a similar situation in My Dying Bride as well right now. So
although of course, supposedly they're touring with Aaron's blessing because he wants to do his other band.
Yeah.
High Parasite.
High Parasite, which is also a band which you guys should check out. It's actually tremendous.
Yeah, I was mentioning it to Gautam a few months back.
High Parasite is pretty good. But yeah, so my stance is that only. I don't think this should happen. But then again, what are you gonna do?
I don't think they're going to pull a Aussie to Dio transition at this point in time.
Yeah.
That's the only way it would make sense. If you just brought in someone who is equally unique and powerful and just try to replicate.
Correct.
See, Nevermore also was a band which is your favorite band's favorite band.
Yeah.
It's essentially still a very niche band if you think about it. So they were never at a level of, say, pulling 20,000 people in the middle of, in some village in Argentina. That was never gonna happen. So I'm not sure how they're gonna do it. And, it's burning away all the goodwill that Jeff Loomis has there. I mean, he's already...
There's a lot of, older metal artists who are doing these sorts of things. Panthera, you mentioned. I think either Cynic or Atheist has some sort of a lineup touring, which is just one guy from the original and a whole lot of younger musicians around him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess the glory days didn't pay off, and they all really need to make some more money.
Even Metal Church, after Mike Howie died, I got some new guy put out an album, but yeah, it's just not the same.
Famously Queensryche.
Yeah.
Where's Queensryche now?
Yeah.
So yeah.
No distinctive identity anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway. So that was 2005. What kind of a year was it? I think all the albums that we've mentioned between the three of us are actually extremely diverse.
Except for one last pick that I have. I've still not picked my number one, which would be my number one any day of the week. And that is Primordial's Gathering Wilderness.
Oh, yes.
It's time for me to cry. It's their fifth album released in early 2005. And this was actually not the first Primordial album I heard, but it was subsequently one of my favorite Primordial album of all time. It's a long, epic statement. It's not a collection of singles. No Primordial albums actually are. And this album actually runs a thematic, cohesive statement about, the breakdown of a society, of a people, of, and it's just that much depth to that. It's heroic, it's mournful, it's rooted in that very Irish identity. And musically, I think it's a departure from the previous one, which was still rooted very deeply in black metal. There is a lot of a heightened element of Celtic and that folk melodic sensibility, which defines Primordial currently. There is that doom and that epic spacing of that of as for what we know and love the band. The result, in fact, is music that feels both savage and elegiac, in my opinion. There are blast-driven patches, of course, which sit beside mournful, mid-tempo grooves. There's a lot of folk guitar motifs. Alan Averil's vocals are raw, weathered, emotionally theatrical, carrying much of them, giving Primordials every note that they play that amount of gravitas. the songcraft in itself, it's long form arrangements that build on tension and release, and instead of repeating the same riffs over and over again. The production is big, it's organic, but it's not overtly polished. It's clear enough to let the layers breathe, so as to say. The guitars have that warm, nostalgic tone. The drums have that weight. But what makes it special is that it manages the rare trick of sounding both elemental and sophisticated. It's fierce and raw when it needs to be, and the writing obviously reveals a lot of those subtle motifs and refrains that reward multiple and repeated listens. And you know what? I love the fact of how you can relate these lyrics to our country, especially from the place that I'm from. There is something we are a country which lives in a long, complex shadow of colonialism, of famine, of displacement, of systematic cultural erasure. And in many places, communities know this loss. They know that their land is being stolen. They know their heritage is being suppressed. So when Primordial sings about this, that silence which between these songs, those are the universal feelings. Where is uh, I mean, the poetic mood in itself, connects India's love for melancholic poetry, for songs that mourn, as well as that inherent rage. Uh, think of all of the pollution, all of the corruption, all of the lost identity. There is that landscape there, I feel, and that is that collective memory that we're losing. And I think this album in itself captures a lot of that, because it speaks also of a people who are going through or have gone through uh, similar things and are going through similar things. So when it comes to us, when we see that modern life, which often sweeps away old traditions, languages, folk music, your culture, there the inherent theme of roots, of identity, of what remains when it's all stripped away. I think that is the biggest takeaway from Primordial's music, and especially this album, The Gathering Wilderness. Comes to my highest possible recommendations. This is a work of art. It speaks deeply. If I can speak for the three of us, to at least the three of us, and a lot of our friends as well. It's a tremendous album. You should
Yeah,
go out of your way and check this album out.
yeah, absolutely. Nothing much to add to that. Yeah, just a great album.
So yeah, another terrific band, and yeah, I totally get how you can relate a lot of what Ninthianga's Avril is saying to current India. Like, I feel like a lot of our cultures are dying out, a lot of our tribes are dying out, our languages are dying out. Not just so much in the shadow of colonialism, but also in the shadow of modernism, I guess, and capitalism,
Mm.
right? And that's
The
happening
country
across
is
the
sort of
country.
the country sort of has a set of dominant cultures that are eating up all
Yeah,
the smaller
yeah, all
ones.
the
So
rest of it. Yeah,
we've passed from the age of external imperialism to
yeah,
self imperialism.
internal capital cronyism
Mm.
and whatever else you want to call it. But yeah, and fantastic. I mean, if you talk about songs, Cities Carved in Stone, I think the last one on the album, of course, you have Coffin Ships, which is brilliant. And this wasn't the first Primordial I heard. I think the first
Mm.
one was the one that came after this, To the Named is Dead.
Mm.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a brilliant, brilliant album.
And the cover art looks so much like it's going to be post metal,
Hmm.
but actually it isn't. And once you listen to the album, it's so fitting with the mood. It's this moody black and white photo and the landscape and the birds flying. You'd
Yeah,
think it's something that's escaped from the Neurosis, Tribes of Neurosis,
yeah.
but no, it goes in a very different direction.
Yeah. My favorite song from this album has to be The End of All Times. I mean, just the last few lines, these are desperate times. The odds are stacked against us. Surely the day will come when the wolf is set loose, when he wakes from his slumber and awakes the beast in man,
Yeah.
and he shatters the bonds that binds him and makes him one last stand for all times. So every time I go home, I ensure that when I'm traveling, climbing up that hill and entering the valley, I listen to this and Redemption of the Puritans, and these two albums are a must listen, because
Mm.
they remind me so much of of where uh, my state, my city where I grew up in is, and what was, because it's very relatable, and it comes with a very, very, very high recommendation. So, but let's not end on a solemn note. We were supposed to have another regular contributor, Xoitaan of the band Antt, was supposed to join us, but unfortunately, extenuating circumstances prevailed, and he could not be a part of this. So, GK, do you want to go through his picks, and maybe we can have like or we'll go down the room and see what we all think about.
Yeah, sure. So I think one of his picks was Nile in their Darkened Shrines.
Yeah, Nile in the Darkened Shrines.
So honestly, I don't remember this album, but yeah, I'll let you two speak about it.
Well, I think for me, this was for me, it was a sort of culmination of that very, very monumental sound of theirs without the more slightly catchy and accessible elements that they would later put in. I think it's just a huge brick of an album. It's a gigantic, absolute lump.
Apparage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this album, I revisited it as an entirety. Normally, when some of us we catch up, we play a lot of these formative albums and these bands, over a drink or whatever, and just reminisce as old people do. Or so Nile is also a band, and along with Dying Fetus, etc., which we all grew up listening to. So I heard this entire album on its entirety in a very long time this week, and I actually took a walk because of how punishing this album is. It's unrelentingly heavy, and it's Sacrifice onto Sadek and stuff like that. They're stuff of legend now, a huge part of their playlist, of their set list, night on night. And just think about it. Growing up, I was hugely into Egypt, ancient Greece, as everyone is, and to hear a death metal band singing about this was endlessly fascinating. And obviously, Nile appearing on History Channel is also something which was very fascinating for me. No, yeah, they had a promo with Suffocation, and they had a promo with Nile playing inside a catacomb. So yeah, ancient aliens or some shit like that. But yeah, Dallas in this album is tremendous. I mean, fuck those riffs, man. I mean, holy shit. And obviously Greg Colliers, before he besmirched his good name by playing with Demon Stealer, one of the most legendary performances of all time. I mean, holy shit. This Annihilation of the Wicked is legendary. I think he also had 1349's Hellfire in his list. GK, your thoughts on 1349?
Yes, but first, who is this Demon Stealer you speak of?
What's all this?
No, but yeah, 1349 Hellfire kicks ass. Yeah, deadly album. I think this one kind of maybe brought me back into black metal a little bit after college. Really solid album for me. I think blistering, fast, not exactly fast paced maybe, but it had that black metal darkness to it, and an album I still enjoy quite a bit. Yeah.
I'm actually still more familiar with Beyond the Apocalypse.
Also a great album.
Yeah. And I also remember getting turned on to this band because I think Thomas Fisher of Celtic Frost had posted about them. So it gets that seal of approval.
Yeah.
If nothing else.
What I always loved about 1349 was, unlike a lot of bands from that era, who were either modeling in front of a river, weeping, or they were just fast, brutal, no fucks to give, or were theatrical. 1349 was ferocious, but that ferocity was not for just show. The album is very coherent. There is a lot of speed. There is a lot of aggression and atmosphere, as all great black metal does. But they all serve the mood that of apocalyptic collapse. That is that through line throughout this album. There is a lot of ambience as well in this album. As harsh as it is, it offers that space when the band slows down when the riffs are given that amount of space, it's just not blast after blast after blast. There's a roller coaster when you listen to this album. And there are a lot of symbolism in this album as well. There is the track length of Hellfire being exactly 1349. uh, as cult as it can get. The use of traditional black metal imagery paired with the poetic language, the mythic, almost ritualistic aspect of some lyrics. Raven, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated black metal vocalists of that time. I mean, he should be spoken as this with the same breath as someone like a Gal. An absolutely magnificent vocalist. And there were, like I mentioned, in 2005, many black metal bands were experimenting with a lot of ambience, a lot of post metal was creeping in, a lot of progressiveness, or even cleaner productions. But 1349 didn't forsake that. They kept that raw, cult, Nordic hellfire, no pun intended, and yet it is a much more mature sounding brutality, which is measured, and it's an absolutely magnificent album that I go back to quite often.
Okay, and Xoitaan's last pick was Ekakok. Words that go unspoken, deeds that go undone. I think this was a phenomenal album. I mean, I loved Ekakok right from, I remember a friend getting Rape of the Bastard Nazarene. That kind of blew my mind. And Coronzon after that. But this album was a huge step up, right? I mean, it was still very much death metal, some black metal elements, maybe some avant-garde, but it was just a brilliant, brilliant album. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I love Akakoko. I absolutely, my first Akakoko introduction to Akakoko was through the pages of RSJ, when somehow they got David Gray to give an interview. And that time they had just come up with Choronzo, which still remains my favorite Akakoko album. But this would be my number 2 of my favorites. Hello. So yeah, I love the fact that this is a band which has always kind of experimented without going away from that black metal template.
Oh, we've had no
Okay, pass off again. Cool. JB, your thoughts on this album?
Yeah, very much the same. I only really discovered them with their next album. I kind of missed out on them. Yeah, Antichrist. I kind of missed out on them in 2005. And then I went back and listened to the previous albums. And the thing that I always kind of look for in, anything of this sort is, are they able to, whether it's Black Death or Black and Death, I always, look out for how well they're able to build out the atmosphere and, beyond just sort of drilling the riffs into your ears and shrieking over it. And I think this is an album that had an amazing degree of craftsmanship.
Yeah,
what a complete shit show. My power was also gone.
And
I think some other.
I'll just read out a few of the 2005 albums that we didn't mention and give me a quick one-word impressions of them. Character by Dark Tranquility.
Don't care.
Doom by Job for a Cowboy.
Don't care.
Shovel-Headed Kill Machine by Exodus.
Love it.
Okay. Miasma by the Black Dahlia Murder.
Don't care.
The Funeral Album by Sentenced. A bit tricky. It's not exactly what I go to Sentenced for. But
is this that album which has that video of that old man dying?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
No, I think
Didn't
that
everyone
is from
do one of those at
Cold
one
White
point?
Light. But
that
Cold White Light and Funeral album. This is what is this called? The Funeral album, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had some ridiculously catchy hard rock songs. Like they were all about suicide and depression, but they were ridiculously catchy.
Okay. This is the time when they became Catatonia or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I said, it's not what I necessarily turned to them for, but it's very well done of its kind. Immolation's Harnessing Ruin. Where do you where does it stack up in your emulation picks?
Quite a solid
GK, you want
album,
to go
I'd
first?
say. Yeah, quite a solid album. Maybe not in the top 5 for me, maybe. But, oh yeah, maybe just making the top 5. Still a very good album. I remember tripping on this quite a bit when it came out. But probably warrants a revisit because when I go back to emulation, it's usually the first 4 that I go back to. Yeah.
So for me, Immolation is the first 5 albums.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So this is okay. Not something I revisit quite often.
Yeah. So, what other notable things came out? Oh gosh. System of a Down's Hypnotize.
Rudra, Brahmavidya Primordial 1.
Oh, okay. Wow. It doesn't stand out to me from the surrounding
What?
albums, but it's a solid Rudra album.
Okay, so I'll give you some names. Let me know what you think. Let me just pull this up and then we can close it instead of this dour note that we find ourselves in. Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
Self-titled.
Self-titled, yeah, good album. Really good
Definitely.
album.
Yeah, I was about to pick that. But
I would say almost a return to their roots, which they did with Fate Divides Us. Fate Divides Us? Yeah.
Yeah.
But almost there, I would say. Yeah. Really solid album.
Borderlands Dotskavad by Tucker.
Fuck, no idea.
Oh wow, serious. Okay, Camelot, A Black Halo.
No idea.
This is one of those Euro.
This is the power metal Camelot.
Yeah,
right?
with the K. I'm sure
Yeah.
I'd enjoy it if I listen to it and then probably forget it. Though if it's actually one of their masterpieces, I apologize abjectly. The cover art looks hella cheesy, so maybe not.
Okay, Napalm Death, The Code is Red.
Yeah, I thought it was
Solid.
a pretty consistent, solid album.
Yeah.
Arcturus, Sideshow Symphonies.
Good one.
Arcturus.
Sideshow Symphonies by Arcturus.
Fuck, I just realized I missed out on another of my favorite albums from 2005, and that's Drudka with The Swan Road.
Oh.
Okay.
Falkenbach, Heralding.
Heralding. I don't remember this album at all.
Okay. GK, one of your favorite bands, Soilwork with Stabbing the Drama.
No. By this point, they're not worth.
Yeah, they were pretty fuck all by this point. Yeah.
Durin Grey, Withering to Death. I don't know what the fuck is Durin Grey.
No idea at all.
Okay, and the last one, Psy Shadow, Gallows Gallery.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised that we didn't already mention this because I'm pretty sure I saw it on one of your lists.
It was on mine. Then I realized, I actually thought Gathering Wilderness was 2006.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah, I can kind of see why you'd pick. I mean, I can see the argument for picking Primordial over that. It's a very epic, very cohesive statement. But of course, the Psy album is also. I mean, they were on a roll at that point, I think.
Yeah.
Right. And we'll close this entire conversation with thoughts on Children of Bodom's Are You Dead Yet?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
No.
Both of you are not in the Children of Bodom.
No, I mean, the first 2 albums I remember, they were like really big, right? The 2 green colored albums.
Follow the Reaper and something.
So, yeah, Something Wild, Something Wicked.
Something Wild.
Something Wild, They were really big, but they were too. I don't know, man. There's one of those bands that I could never get into. Like even for melodic death metal, they were just too. They were like the Stratovarius of melodic death metal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Incredibly samey structures.
Yeah.
If you love the style, then I guess you would like. But as it is, Gothenburg Melodeath is a very tough sell for me.
Yeah.
For me, I love, and I will always respect Children of Bodom for the fact that they had Alex Lye on guitars. that guy, regardless of what you think about the band, you cannot discount the fact that that guy was a guitar hero. I mean, just blazing neoclassical, Malmsteen playing that kind of music. Uh, uh, I love Hate Breeder. I think that is one album that has really stood the test of time for me because I was discovering this kind of music when this album, or rather this band was huge. So watching Alex Lyo just rip and shred throughout an album was incredible. But yeah, a band which I feel is a gateway band. I remember someone had asked this question on the group the other day as well. That what would be like normally I would suggest Children of Bodom because I feel that they're a very easily accessible band for someone trying to get into black or death metal. So yeah,
I don't
so
know.
on that note,
I feel like it's
yeah.
very
I
much
feel
a
you'd set them on the
generational
wrong
thing
path.
as well. Yeah,
You'd set them on the wrong path.
because
They'd start thinking later creator albums are good.
because for me, Children of Bodom, even Alexi Lyo, I know a lot of people
Yeah.
think of him as a guitar hero, and nothing against that, but he's fine. I mean, he's not like is he like a Malmsteen or a Y or even a Randy Rhoads? No, I don't think so. So it's like if he's like the first neoclassical shred guy that you're listening to, then he's probably going to blow your mind. But is he like an all-time great? I don't think so.
Yeah, I heard these guys when I was 13 or 14 years old.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
There's, if I go through year by year, you're probably going to find stuff from 1989, 1991 that I loved and still have a fondness for, which I couldn't fully explain. So I get that totally. Yeah. Like I used to like Guns N'
Yeah,
Roses
totally.
at one time, so I have nothing to say to
no,
anyone.
I still love Guns N' Roses.
Okay,
I was just fucking
you
huge.
must.
No, I mean, for me, it's like all of those hair metal bands from the 80s, right? Like I'll still listen to Whitesnake at very loud volumes. I'm not talking like hard rock or blues rock Whitesnake. I'm talking like 1987 and
Yeah, here I go
Slide
again.
It In. Yeah.
Slip It In.
Fool for Your Loving. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, those songs kick ass, and they don't even need context. Just kick ass. Like for example, Wasp. I mean,
Yes, of course.
every
But
day there
Wasp
will
kind of
not be
stands.
one moment where we don't speak about Wasp on the group. But yeah,
Wasp stands aside from every other hair or sleeves band. They just somehow were way darker, and at the same time had better melodies.
Yeah, and this guy, even in the most like
True.
weird left of the field stuff like KFD and all, you'll have that inherent melody, yeah, like that it just clicks like that. It's just incredible songwriting. So on that note, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
It took a
JP,
long
thank you
time.
for for being a part of the show, and we will see you soon. And yeah, a little bit of technical glitch.
Yeah, I think everyone disappeared for a while today.
Yeah. So yeah, a bit of a magic act. But yeah, we'll see you on the next edition of the Middle Aged Metalhead, and do let us know what you think and your favorite albums of 2005.
And as you can, like, share, subscribe, do all of that good shit. And as you can see, we're still having technical problems. So signing off for now. Cheers, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good one. Stay safe.
Thanks.
Stay metal. Bye.